Good morning and welcome to the day where we are going to officially be launching our Nshm YFM web radio. It has been a long time that we are waiting for this day and this very moment, and the countdown had already begun since the last 30 days. And each day that was passing by, we were eagerly waiting for this thing to happen. It's a journey forward for all of us, and we are eagerly and earnestly looking forward to the journey that lies ahead of us with this launch of our NSHM official web radio. Now, what exactly is so special about this entire wait that you made with all of us, right? And how are we going to make worth the countdown? Well, let me tell you guys that NSHM YFM web radio will be an app-based online radio station. 91.2 YFM NSHM community radio was launched in the year 2013, and until today it could not increase its listenership due to its limited reach. And unfortunately, as you all know, and we all know the facts and figures, that as time goes by, we are all going ahead with this entire process of digitalization. And if it's not digital, it does not survive in today's day and time. And therefore, we decided that NSHM is going to launch its web radio, which will be live 24/7 and will be available as an app-based platform. So you can easily download it through your Play Store, use it as an app, on the go, on the move, wherever you are, whenever you are. You can just plug in your earphones and your headphones and listen to this amazing content which has been curated by the students at NSMC under of course, the mentorship of the faculty members at NSHM Knowledge Campus. All of these students and professors and faculty members have come together with the curation of the content that you will be able to have access to once we go ahead with the official launch of NSHM YFM web radio today. And if I keep on blabbering here without giving an update as to what exactly do we have in store today, that would be a severe injustice. So today's day is all about celebrating what we have curated in the last 1 month. And today, on this eve of the launch of NSHM YFM web radio, we have amazing, insightful panel discussion, conversation with media scholars and professionals, and of course, performances that is going to lighten up our mood and get us grooving to the day that lies ahead of us. But amidst all of this is also going to be the official launch. So sharp at 12 p.m. we are going to have the official launch of NSHM YFM web radio. Now, the countdown has already begun. The show is already live, and I'm hoping you all are here joining us and tuning into NSHM YFM web radio very, very soon. In case of any queries, any sort of feedback about the app, please feel free to get back to us and let us know, because we will be definitely working on the same. And we have an amazing team here who is working on the web radio 24/7. So as I've always said, that a dream team makes the dream come true. So we have a team here who is working 24/7 so that you have access to this 24/7 live web radio. Now, without further ado, we are going to move on with what we have in store today. And for that, let's take a few seconds of your time to see what today's event is going to be all about. So we are going to move on to the first panel discussion for the day. A panel discussion that will be attended by very esteemed and highly skilled media scholars and professionals, and of course, will also be moderated by the very same talented person. So, for our panel discussion today, we have with us as our panelist none other than Rupam Banerjee, ex correspondent at BBC Kolkata, Pramiti Roy, assistant professor at Amity University, Kolkata, Triranjana Das, radio presenter at All India Radio, who is also going to be the moderator for today's session. And of course, from in-house, we have our extremely esteemed professors, Professor Debanjan Banerjee, who is the HOD at NSHM School of Media and Communication. And of course, no panel discussion that goes from here can be complete without the valuable input and insightful input from Dr. Krishnendu Sarkar, Chief Strategy and Impact at NSHM Life Skills School. I would now like to pass the baton to none other than Triranjana Das, who will be moderating this very insightful panel discussion on the topic of radio as an educational tool in the developing countries. Good morning, Triranjana. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Professor Anisha. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction. Firstly, I would like to
thank you. Yes, I would not take much of your time.
Because I joined late. That's the biggest thing I should say, because I was just with my program here, and that's the result of this condition.
Yes. I think you will definitely make the wait worth it, and I'm very sure about that. So I'm not going to interrupt much here, and I'm going to pass on the baton to you so that you carry forward this panel discussion. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Anisha, firstly, I think Anisha has already given us a kind of linking to what the program is all about. Today's panel discussion is on radio as an educational tool in developing countries. I'm extremely grateful to Professor Debanjan Banerjee, sir, because he gave me a chance to actually put forward the views and take over with the moderation part. But before going ahead with this beautiful topic, with this beautiful morning, the Saturday morning that we are here in December, I would like to just introduce my panelists for the day. Firstly, Dr. Krishnendu Sarkar, the Chief Strategy and Impact Chief, NSHM Life Skills School. We have with us Professor Debanjan Banerjee, the media educator, HOD of Media Science and NSHM Knowledge Campus. Mr. Rupam Banerjee, the ex-correspondent BBC Kolkata and reporter of Akashvani, which makes him my senior, definitely. And my colleague, my friend, and definitely one of the best persons who I know, Professor Pramiti Roy, Assistant Professor at School of Communication at Amity University, Kolkata. Welcome everyone on board.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Triranjana.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining in. Well, sir, actually, the topic itself is a very potent one in the current circumstances that we see, that radio, how it is an educational tool in developing countries. Most importantly, at a time when we are doing the kind of work that we are relegated to in this pandemic, we have often seen that people take to numerous other forms of media, which perhaps we didn't even think of while we were not under the grip of pandemic. And radio has become one of the most emerging tools. Now, my first thing I would actually like to ask, sir, that how far has the pandemic re-livened the spirit of radio?
This is for Mr. Banerjee.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Oh, sir, definitely.
Okay.
Rupamla, please tell something.
Okay. Can you repeat the questions? I could not listen to it properly because there was some disruption.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir. So the conditions that we are in during this pandemic, as a result of which we have seen that radio has again made a comeback in our drawing rooms, in our bedrooms, in the way how we function and everything. So the major reason why actually
again got disrupted.
Rupamla, can you hear?
Sir, yes. Can you hear me right now? Thank you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So currently, the pandemic has given us more reasons than one to actually go back to the radio, because people often consider that a radio is fast disappearing from the scene. Amidst the different rising media sectors that we are actually, engulfed with, we have seen radio taking a backseat. How has the pandemic been a kind of revolution, sir, because of which we can again get radio back to our lives?
Yeah, it's a question, but to me, I will always tell you that radio is never on the backstage. We have to see radio is a very useful media. It depends on how you are going to use it. Radio, you must remember, it's a blind media and only one has to listen to you. There is no other way of communication. That makes it very unique, very difficult, but the power of radio, it reaches everywhere. You do not need a huge set, a very small set, and wherever you can be, radio can reach you. That is the most advantage of radio. It is the widest media among all media. Therefore, whenever you think of radio, you must know how I should tell and make my listeners know what I am going to tell. It's very important. The basic thing for that is think simple, use simple sentences and words, short sentences. Then you see, always you will find a good number of listeners. Especially radio has make a comeback more in the semi-urban and rural areas because of the pandemic. When people are not able to go out, many of them do not have a television set, so they tune to radio. And radio has become a very important communication even for educational institutes and other organizations. So therefore, radio has always in the mind, and one thing how we are going to utilize it. We are now utilizing it. That's why people had a certain advantage. You can listen to radio even if you are working other things like that. You are driving, you can listen to radio. You are cooking, you can listen to radio. You are reading something, you can listen to radio. You are working some work at home or at office, but you can listen to radio. So these are the basic advantage which makes radio unique. But remember, if your discussion or if your telling is not interesting, is not simple, many people will not understand. So for education, you must have to be very careful about your language. How can you tell simple language if you think simple? It is very important for your students. In education, so simple thinking, use of single languages, short sentences, which people can remember. You have no chance of repeating. Remember, they would be listening once. So if you maintain all these things, I think radio can always be very handful and essential media for everybody. It may take backseat for time being, but it will again come back. And pandemic situation has proved that it has not lost its importance. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for
Nilanjana.
an insightful mode of letting me know. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The point is, sir, thank you so much for letting us get a briefing about this very important notion, because as you said that radio is a medium where we can multitask. Having the radio in full blast also, even we can actually do lots of things ahead with that. And that is something I think most people, even still now, feel skeptical about whether they can attend to the radio or do their usual course. That still goes on at the back of the mind. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, my next question is actually to Dr. Sharkar. Sir, one very important thing that we've often known is that radio is a poor man's medium. We call it an illiterates medium. And also we say that there are no barriers to the same. So my only little thing that I have to ask you is, do you feel that even in the current times when people can get access to web media at a very nominal cost, does the policy or does the impact of radio still stay the same? Maybe in the pandemic it has grown by leaps and bounds, but how far are people ready to go back to the so-called mode of radio?
Yeah, very interesting. And thank you, Triranjana. Taking this cue from Mr. Banerjee, Mr. Rupam Banerjee, very well said. And I can remember that I was in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, 1998, when for the first time in my life, I have seen a disaster of that magnitude. It was a super cyclone with all its fury. Everything was cut off. And the one medium that was working, that one medium that connected each other to ensure that the provisions are there on the right time at the right place, it was the amateur radio, the ham radio, right? And radio was a savior. So particularly when disasters happen, radio is that only source of sustenance of information, and that is so noble. Let me tell you, the first thing about radio is that it impacts one and all, particularly during disasters. Now, coming back to the modern times, with the intervention of ICT, which we call it information and communication technology, and now that we have internet and the web, I look forward to Devanjan Banerjee and Mr. Rupam Banerjee and also Pramita. You guys are experts in this field of media, and I belong from technology and engineering background. So I would like to know from you much more today on what unfolds, what are the new vistas this web thing will open for us. I can only suggest from engineering point of view, technology point of view. Can we have a web, a web of community radio? What I mean is that we all know that the advantages of radio is that it can be produced, the content can be produced in quick time, it is absolutely low cost and with high quality and high reach. But content production and content quality has to be very iterative. The iterative cycle is much more faster than other mediums. So can we have a consortium like we have a World Association for Community Broadcasters and Radios? Can we have a consortium of community radio like us, YFM, web radio, wherein it is internet and we can pool our content in one source, so that there is this constant inflow and influx of content across vernacular things, languages, and that really will make it 24 into 7. So for example, we at NSHM, we can bring little bit more formal education into the sphere of non-formal education, which radio is known for, distance education. Likewise, there can be community radios which can chip in with the content from other arenas, and that will make a new web in the internet, which can be this web of community radio. That is my thought and submission for the day today. But I leave it to the experts to delve on this further, and let's see how best we can take it forward using this internet and ICT. That is my submission when it comes to web radio.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this vital take on it, because you have highlighted on certain aspects which are like the blessings that have come about with modern radio, be it community radio, be it ham radio, internet radio. We can always see the kind of prospects that they are bringing before the people. And especially with community radio, I personally congratulate the NSHM team once again. It's my privilege to be here. Thank you, Devanjan sir, to actually bring me here, because I know that Sir has been one of the pioneers when it comes to the the community radio initiative when it comes to NSHM Knowledge Campus. My next question is actually to Professor Banerjee. Sir,
Yes.
one very important thing that I need to actually ask you is how do you think, like in a country like ours, with the kind of diversity that we have, community radio is actually the biggest factor where we can hold on to people's attention even now, despite the influx of internet. What is the basic serving of community radio? Because there have been a lot of people who hold false notions concerning community radio. We call community radio as campus radio. There has been a lot of diversity in that. So, which one do you think is like the real community radio? What is the basic concept of it, for the common masses, sir?
Good morning,
Well,
everyone.
yeah,
Hello. Uh,
Good morning,
good
yes.
sir.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's a very pertinent questions you have asked. Let me first tell me, Dr. Krishnendu Shorkar sir, that we right at this point of time, we need an amalgamation between creativity and technology, right? So you are an engineer, but you have an you can definitely immensely contribute in this media world. And now, at this point of time, in this ice age, what exactly you mentioned, information, communication, and technology, there's 100% need of technology which has to be embedded with creativity. So media needs technology and vice versa. Now let's talk about the question about community radio. Especially radio is made for the masses. I specifically mentioned radio is made for the masses. I am not saying that radio is not for class. Definitely, class can use radio, but radio is made for mass. Whether it is developing countries, G16 countries, G20 countries, or developed countries of G8 category, or underdeveloped country of G64, radio plays a very pivotal role, because there's a huge amount of communities involved in radio, and radio can play this crucial role by catering education, by disseminating education. Now, this education is not for the students. This education can be for the farmers. This education can be for the fishermen. This education can be for the common people, those who are working in the different small scale industries. So there are lots of panel discussions. There are lots of different types of educational program which is catering the need of the students, the fishermen. What exactly Krishnendu sir was telling me was very apt about the super cyclone. So radio is not only playing the role of a disaster management after the disaster takes place. Not only that, radio plays a very important function, that prevention is better than cure. Like almost in all coastal areas across the world, just mentioning the coastal areas of India, there's a huge coast. If you go to Sri Lanka, there's a huge coast. In Bangladesh is already infected with lots of national calamities like the Southeast Asian countries. If we go this Far East countries like Philippines, Thailand, uh, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, all these countries, there's a huge coast. Even Japan, radio plays a big role. Like the community, all the meteorological departments forecast is being served through this ham radio to the community. So let's come to the question of Triranjana, that yes, a community radio plays a big role to enhance different skills setup, not only different skill setups, different health awareness programs, different academic programs, educational programs, and especially in this country like India and this subcontinent, like in the SAARC countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Maldives, even in the Western African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Angola. If you go to the Latin American countries like Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, where there's a huge amount of population is involved, and radio is playing a big role. In our country, the concept of community radio is confined with some educational institutions and some NGOs. But if you go through different other Latin American countries and the Western African countries, there's a huge initiative by the private entrepreneurs. They are getting license from their government, and they are operating their radio, and they are serving the community, especially in the health sector, especially in the educational sector, especially for the fishermen, especially for the agricultural people, those who are working in the agricultural lands, the farmers. So naturally, you can expect that this concept has to proliferate. This concept has to not only confined to the educational institutions like we NSHM School of Media and Communication and NSHM Knowledge Campus is coming up with this unique initiative, which is I think no other educational institutions in Eastern India does have. But still, I can say this is very confined within the educational system and the NGOs. So it is the time has come that government is Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India is giving license. So I would be requesting all the entrepreneurs, all the uh, budding people, those are investing money, so they can come up in this community radio and they can definitely serve the nation, the society as a whole. So this is the need of the hour.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for actually telling about countries where we often really won't give a thought to, because you have brought about the samples from countries where we have heard, we have learned, but seldom do we care to think about how they are implementing the strategies as well and how we can learn from them. So thank you for that, sir. I'll go over
Thank you.
to my colleague, my friend, Promiti Roy, Assistant Professor at Amity School of Communication. Professor Pramiti, the only thing I need to ask you is that students have often spoken about this mode of podcasting. They often say that they have taken a lot of interest in this new thing that has, given a kind of boost during this pandemic. How far do you think that this mode of radio will at all get more interesting, all the more because now podcasting has made its way again in a new way?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the question. And you know what best, because you know I it's an absolute privilege for me to share this platform with some of the most senior colleagues of mine, and of course being moderated by a dear friend. So nothing better than this, I guess it can be. So I firstly would like to start off with a few things that Debanjan sir had rightly pointed out. I'll just quickly, as an from the educator's perspective, because I think there are certain dimensions which the speakers are there who have been professionals in this field, and they will of course take us through the nuances of the medium at a far greater depth or detail. But I would just like to talk about a few areas prior to, I'll come to your question, of course, which actually needs this kind of an attention right now. That I just like to talk about a few case studies. Like for in Thailand, what was radio used for? So in Thailand, if we actually confined ourselves to, so it was actually an educational tool which was employed to teach mathematics to school children. This entire medium of radio. If we move on to India, of course, for rural development, simply because of its reach, right? And next, when we come to Switzerland, okay, for the public health purposes, it was used. If we come down to Mali for literacy training, if we come down to Mexico for literacy training again. So when we talk about Nigeria in support of correspondence, courses, distance education courses, right? Next, when we come down to Philippines for nutrition education, so when we come down to Sri Lanka again, so for family planning and health planning purposes. So these are certain, if we talk about the Dominion Republic, it was actually in support of primary education that this entire medium was essentially used. So these are some of the developing economies where radio has gained its popularity. Now, if we talk about, what is the chief, reason for radio being used by these very developing countries in its entirety is like, I'll just talk about four such points, which actually, is a kind of, it's a very, very pertinent reason why radio is used in these and has been used in these developing economies. So first, I think it gives some quality, some quantitative expansion because entirely of its reach and its network, base, and also qualitative improvement of education. Now, because in countries, developing countries, essentially in India, and of course, we do know that how we are of course we are there is a constraint of finance, there is a dearth of efficient teachers, especially in the rural areas, and the education in the rural areas, efficient teachers are missing, suitable equipments are missing, appliances are missing. So essentially, because of that, radio tends to bring, and in fact plays a very significant part in expansion of the qualitative aspect of education, right? Now, of course, there are some inaccessible areas in the various countries, in our country as well, where expansion of education have faced certain very, very major difficulties, right? So essentially, so radio has actually grown awareness about the inadequacy of the traditional and of course the formal system of education, and not only for expansion but also for improving the standards of education. So this is one big quality that radio, this medium of radio, really brings in. Now, I think next point I would talk about is the fostering the sense of national integration. I think this has been talked about. I think, and there are experts sitting here, they would actually, agree with me that, it's a very, very important instrument to foster the sense of unity and integrity. Like I think you mentioned in the previous question as well to the Vanjan sir, that, in a country like India, the cultural programs, the debates, the talks, which essentially, flows through broadcast, involve a very strong sense of desire among the people to know each other's culture, essentially. So this is, I think, the second point. The third very important point is the entertainment bit, which actually will come to the question which you had asked me. The entertainment part, the entertainment part would actually mean, in the form of, we do know that, essentially, in the form of these cultural shows, in the form of dramas, we also have so many programs lined up after this particular talk show as well. So the other cultural programs, the leisure programs, which we may call it, the recreational ones, okay, which are essentially, radio is one such medium which actually gives a lot of happiness and joy through the various programs that it really caters to a very large section of the population. And I think a very important last point will be the vocational information that this medium actually provides us with. So, which is about the production bit, the consumption in industry and agricultural practices, the use of manuals. So these are essentially in the form of information, like Devanjan sir very aptly said that. Fishermen, the kind of importance, the coastal areas really assigned to this particular medium of communication. So I think this is one of the chief, points that really needs to be put forward as far as this particular medium is concerned. And now coming to your podcast, the question regarding the podcast issue, I think students are really enjoying this because it's very impersonal. And also somehow, whenever you are coming with these kind of programs, which essentially talks about the lighter aspect of things, especially because radio is always known to be very, very formal. But, whenever you tend to get a very lighter aspect and, we talk about very light, lighter version of things. So I think it's very, very interesting. And the students get so much of interest when it comes to podcast related programs. And I think there are so many podcasts which are being aired on YouTube and everywhere now. So we get to see them all over. So I think that it's exactly because, you tend to get the reaction from the viewers. And I think that is what which makes it so very interesting for especially the younger generation. That's what I feel.
Uh, I, uh, I would like to add with Promiti, my dear friend Promiti. She actually gave all the relevant examples and which are 100% correct. In addition to that, I can add something with the growth of distance education. With the growth
Yes.
of distance education, like in the distance education, especially in these developing countries and the underdeveloped countries, radio
Right.
is playing a very, very crucial role. Like with the growth of distance education in the last two scores of years, like in the last 2 decades, radio
Yes,
has
sir.
emerged as one of the most effective and cost efficient tools of mass communication. Like among
Absolutely.
different countries, more populous countries of the world, the use of radio as the educational tool, especially in the distance educational sector, has remained prominent in the countries like Thailand, what exactly right now we mentioned, India,
Exactly.
Mali, Colombia, Nigeria, Mexico, Kenya, Nepal, Bangladesh, Nicaragua, Sri Lanka, Botswana, South Korea. So the countries which I'm mentioning is practically crisscrossing the whole globe. Like some parts of Latin America, some parts of Far East, some parts of West Africa, some parts of
Yes.
Southeast Asia. So you can understand this distance education and radio has become almost synonymous with each other. Even in
Absolutely.
our country, Rupamda can rightly mention, Rupamda can give his experiences that in BBC there are lots of distance education program used to take place. Even Akashvani used to follow all these kind of distance education programs, and these distance education programs are so effective to spread education among the common people, those are unable to reach to schools and colleges, and so they're all poverty stricken below the poverty line, and radio play as a role of a savior.
Yes, Devanjan, what I would like to tell you is that you will
Uh,
remember the programs in All India Radio, like Krishi Kathara Show, like
right, right.
Mozdur Mondoli. At
Shashi
one
Bhaiদের জন্য
time,
অনুষ্ঠান, হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ,
okay,
হ্যাঁ,
they
হ্যাঁ,
were very popular. They were very popular, and a lot of people used to take part in this program, raise their problems, have some solution. It was very good. But over the time, it lost its, I mean, the glamour and whatever, the importance that way. Why? And you talk about this thing is it depends on how I communicating and how am I involving more people in this. Unless you
Right.
involve the farmers or the workers in large number, one by one, turn by turn, you cannot. And it involves a budget hampers. You were talking about community radio. Community radio is basically on a small geographical area with a common demographic. Basically, usually campuses could be, and also a cluster of 3, 4 villages or at least
Right.
5 villages can have a community radio. That community radio has got a lot of advantages. You know the problem from the people. You know the entertainment part of a fiber village, say cultural habits, music, you can share. But at the same time, it is more important to have what is happening in other communities, in other areas, any development which I can introduce here. But the problem is these need a tremendous coordination and the proper will and fund, which is lacking. I give you an example. The government of India, a few years back, they allowed FM news channel to use news. FM channel to use news. What happened? You see, this thing was there, and certain FM channels they started, uh, satiring within the news, which create angers among the MLAs, MPs, and even ministers. So they lodged a protest. And people tell me these channels have done it deliberately so that FM news channel cannot grow. Then their position will be at stake. See, this is very interesting. How can and why this everything is coming into this stage? I tell you, all were talking of Promiti was talking about national integration, and you are also talking about this. I tell you one important thing: radio is so powerful that in most of the countries, radios are controlled by the government. Why? Because any media which is very powerful, it has got a negative side also. See, whenever a coup takes place, if the rebel capture a radio station, they can spread their thing like a hell. That creates a problem. So all governments are always looking into the fact that the radios are not controlled by the rebels.
Absolutely.
So they take control and they put radio under their control. But even under their control, it can grow, provided you have the intention to do it. Are we doing it? Why not a FM news channel has come out proper? Why not community radio are growing? Some of them are working very well. But tell me, there should have been in hundreds. Where are they? I don't have the intention to do it. I am not utilizing a powerful media. I am only keeping restrictions so that other cannot use it for their benefit. I know it's very powerful. I give an example. When General Ziaur Rahman was assassinated in Chittagong, see, the Dhaka radio station started saying, for correct news, listen to Dhaka Center of Bangladesh Radio. What does it mean? It means where he was assassinated in Chittagong. That means Chittagong radio has been captured by the rebels.
Right.
Otherwise, Dhaka would not have said this thing. So these are the power of radio. It has very positive powers and negative power. Most of the government is afraid of this negative power, and that's why the positive power they restrict in it. I tell you, any government projects, radio can be the best monitor. You can go to the villages, you can go to the people, talk to this project, how many got benefited, how many didn't get, why they didn't get, why this thing has not hit. You find everything into it. Provided you give that much of liberty to do this, to perform. and it needs allocation of huge funds. You see, they tried, but for many other reasons, these are being affected. You need right kind of people in broadcasting to carry out with a zeal. You can create havoc.
Right,
No
right. Well
media
said.
can match you. I always tell that a broadcaster can work for any media, but a person
Right.
from any media cannot work as a broadcaster.
Very true.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Very true.
absolutely.
It is so power. It's so powerful media. But tell me, where would you get this support? You need a strong government backup for that. Do we have a round the clock radio bulletin in major Indian languages? No, we must have. We must have community more and more community radios. Even FM radios numbers increase.
Yes.
We can carry on. See the All India Radio FM can be relayed to throughout West Bengal. It could be Siliguri FM, it could be Asansol FM, it could be Bardwan FM, it could be Birbhum FM, Churi FM, like that. So you must have a conscious and concrete effort to reach people. If you don't want to reach people, what can you do? But if you reach the people, you achieve a terrific goal.
Excellent. In fact, I would like to borrow your point, Mr. Rupam Banerjee. It was so nice. And just a sec. You are from BBC, and we are in
I am not
2020. Oh, you are okay.
I'm not from BBC, but I work for BBC.
Yeah,
But my
yeah.
beginning is All India Radio. I am with All India Radio. I
Okay,
have
okay,
worked for UNI, All India Radio,
okay, okay. I think you got snapped, Mr. Banerjee. Uh, yes. Let us take the best thing, which this
I got you. Yes,
power is. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back.
yeah.
So, 1920, that year, BBC launched radio as an education tool. And they started with the school education. And this is the 100th year of radio with education. And radio was there before as well. It's more than 100 years. But imagine which other medium can sustain for this long, right? And
Very,
thanks and
very
thanks to this web and internet, that we can safely say that the next 100 years will be with more radio,
yes.
maybe in different forms and formats.
I agree with you.
Now,
I
my
fully
first
agree.
point, let me go back to my first point, because I have listened to all of you, and now I can strengthen my opinion, which was there in the very beginning, as a kind of a recommendation. Now, we are dealing with community radio, NSHM YFM. And as Mr. Rupam rightly said, that there is always this limitation by way of policy limitation. Then you have financial limitations, content limitations in particular as well. Now, my recommendation here would be that if we can connect those communities, how we can connect communities. Like, say, for example, we have hundreds of community radios and amateur radios. 50 odd will be active as we are talking today. Now, even if we begin with connecting these 50 communities, now the idea is that we can do this through web radio. If we can
Yes,
create this consortium of community radio broadcasters and we pull in that content, bring in a lot of vernacular things as well, so that this will be a fantastic way for a community to know about other remote
Other community.
communities. And
Absolutely.
since this radio is community immersive, it is a participative radio, so we can relay this community voice from a location A or a geography A to a far geography B out there. And talking about Pramita's point of integration, and this will contribute a lot towards this national integration per se. and many other things, like for example our constraints in terms of finance, in terms of content, in terms of a lot of other resources, I think will be negated. And thanks to technology, I can safely say that radio is there for the next 100 years as well. Cheers to radio.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely,
Very,
absolutely. In
as
addition,
you,
in addition to cases, what exactly he right now rightly pointed out, like especially in a country like India, which is unity in diversity, lots of religion, race, caste, creed. So even at this point of time, at this crucial juncture, there's a problem of disharmony. There's a problem of discord. There's a problem of misunderstanding which is going on, and which is going to become detrimental for the integration of the country. So what exactly Dr. Sharkar mentioned, that radio's content, the regional content, the vernacular content, this content can deal with different religion, caste, and creed, and this can definitely unite the nation in long run. And in a country like India, we need this kind of community radio, by which this community radio can proliferate the brotherhood and harmony, which is the need of the hour. Because of this disintegration, we are suffering. Like we don't know our neighbors, we don't know their culture. Maybe we are Bengalis. Maybe we don't have no clue about Tamil Nadu culture. We don't have no clue about the Maharashtrian culture. So this radio can play a big role. Akashvani has got some special stations to spread this awareness, but I think these are all very inadequate. I think it should be the role of the different private entrepreneurs also. From this forum, I can request you, I can request all the entrepreneurs. This is a very less amount of investment, very less amount of investment. People are saying the financial constraint, but to run a community radio, it is not that much of a big amount to be involved. Especially there's a huge amount of subsidy Ministry of Information and Broadcasting used to give to different the startup entrepreneurs. If they come up with this community radio, and the big industrialists in our country, if they come up and they can contribute a little bit of amount to the community radio, this can enhance the country's overall development, because we need to communicate. This is an era of communication, and if we will be able to communicate with each other, all problems can be solved. And definitely community radio we have, and the latest ever weapon is this web radio. And right at this point of time, especially in the urban areas and the semi-urban areas, we have become netizens. We are no more citizens, we have become netizens. Almost 10 to 15 hours we are sticking to our Facebook
YouTube.
or social media or YouTube. So naturally we can penetrate these people with the help of this web radio, and the investment is not that much. It is the urge of us. We have to come forward, and we have to tell our students also. Like some students are going to become entrepreneur after passing their examination. Why you are going for placement? Better you place people. You come up with community radio stations with a small funding. Government will help. Different NGOs can help. So even I can give you two schemes. One is being run by UNESCO, United Nations, UNESCO, and one is run by UNICEF. Even World
Yes.
Bank has some schemes, Asian Development Bank have some schemes. They are giving some funding to run this kind of community radio, because this community radio will cater not only a specific country or a region, this will cater the whole globe as a whole. So we have to come forward, and we have to come up with more community radio stations with our small financial capability. Finance is not very important. We have to come to help the community as a whole. This is the need of the hour, which I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Devanjan, in fact, one point,
yeah.
Okay.
when I mentioned this financial constraints, it was in particular with community radio, because
Yes,
see,
yes,
we are essentially not for profit.
Yes.
Now,
absolutely.
here is a kind of an sorry, here is a kind of a policy limitation, you can say, that what should be then the motivation for entrepreneurs, when you are mentioning to come up with community radios. So we have to think, maybe on that line, that wherein probably we can create an internet of such community networks and connect
Right.
those communities, and maybe profit in kind than in cash, in different
No,
ways.
no.
Sir, Sir, there's a provision of generating revenue within community radio also, in the web radio, which basically government
5%.
ensures. DAVP, Directorate of Audiovisual Publicity, you are used to get some ads also.
Or
Definitely you can run
5%
with.
only.
Uh,
Only 5%.
yes, five
Not more
percent.
than 5%. Not more than.
Yes,
Very
yes.
limited.
I tell you, Devanjan, what is the problem? First, you have this idea. We know these are needed. Where is the people who matters are thinking of that? what they are doing. You know how many applications for FM radio and community radio are lying with the government of India?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Over
I know.
2,000. So you need plan, you see the decision, you need a mind to implement it. You want to do it, then you have to allocate for funds, then you have to go for it. There is a big coordination. That coordination is lacking.
Next. Yes, yes.
Yes, right. That law. Otherwise, Pushar Bharati can do havoc.
Right.
And in with FMs and community radios. Not
No,
a single place will leave out. Will not leave out a single place where people cannot be educated with so many things, right from their literacy education to their vocational education to their living everything. Health in health sector, radio is very important. I give you one example for a community radio was Jadavpur Community Radio, Jadavpur
Yes.
University Community did a good job during ILA. They continuously broadcast that you should boil the water, you must take this medicine, because and it has got a result, positive result. So we have this kind of examples everywhere, but we are not doing it in a coordinated way throughout the country.
Rupamda, my
And
request is
especially
Yes.
the funds
not
should
only
be
not
built
only
in.
government,
Yeah.
not only
As a
government, even
development communication tool as
corporates
well.
can farm. Corporates can farm in the name of the corporate social responsibilities.
But you
They are
need the
generating.
clearance. You need the
Nah,
clearance from the government. Unless
Nshm will do
government
it.
clears it, nobody can
Right,
run.
right, right.
It is there is the point. I tell you, the power of me radio. Government will not clear many a thing.
Yes, because
Government
of
will
social.
not give you absolute liberty.
Uh-huh.
Yes, because it's power.
It's
I
power.
tell
Right.
you, so that is the problem. So you have to develop a kind of people. There are those on those you have demand. So what is the present circumstances? You have got government officers. You increase their numbers, coordinate with them, and spread it. Then, if the time wants, if the country wants, the private sector would definitely come into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is
Right.
100% correct. Yes, I agree with this. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Otherwise, it
So
will be a problem. Yes. Yes.
Triranjana.
I think Professor Pramiti wanted to say something, like she had a point
Yeah.
to make. Is it
Please,
safe?
No, I
please,
think no,
please.
I think that's about it because of course the stalwarts are speaking. I don't fit
No,
in
no, please.
anywhere to speak.
No,
No,
Pramati,
but
go on, come
no,
on.
seriously, sir, I personally feel that IMF and also because they do come in with their funds as far as because radio can also be very well used as a development communication tool as well. So IMF and World Bank
Right.
has their own funds for that as well, especially like what Sir said that especially NGOs and the community like we started off with the farm radios which started off in Canada if you all remember the farm radio.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Canadian
Exactly,
Broadcasting Corporation.
exactly, sir. So I think that the Indian version came. I think the first place to broadcast this was from Pune, if I'm not mistaken. So I think
It's in Pune.
these kind of initiative would actually be very very helpful when it comes to community radio and the kind of development tool that radio can really suffice. And also, sir, whenever you're actually talking about the cultural aspect, that especially when the rural people are getting access to this particular form of mass communication, I think
Very important.
removing the age-old superstition and the age-old dogmas are also very very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very important, and only radio I think can do that because they have a kind of a reliability factor when it comes to this particular medium. Because
You're right.
like you
You're
said, it's
absolutely
way
right.
more effective
Yeah.
because of it. I think that's about it, sir. I think that's it.
Yeah, you are
So,
right.
in fact, I just want to add one point here, sir. As Rupam sir had rightly said, so when these school broadcasts had begun way back in All India Radio, like when they started off with these different stations, and there were these teacher training programs which used to get, organized, meant for different schools, different colleges, certain subjects were covered. I think probably English, Sanskrit, these were the languages. So even then, like for a long time, the kind of propelling, the kind of encouragement that was required to hold these kind of programs for even maybe say about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Some experiments were conducted. Certain sports, music based programs were also held. These interesting learning sessions used to happen till a certain point also. But the question really pops up now, is that like All India Radio, if I have to be very specific about this, sir, though the kind of diverse programs that are still held, even if it is in bits and pieces, Do you think that the influx of the web radio, community radio, and overall the entire, ways of functioning, the kind of, variegated stuff that we have on radio, do you think this is another reason why All India Radio has also kind of taken a little bit of, a backseat when it comes to taking active initiatives that they used to at some point of time?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on your mentality. You know, the people, government employees, if they work, they can create wonder. But if they don't work, nothing happens. See, you remember Shitu Mahal, Golpo Dadu Rashor.
Of course, sir.
গল্প
Oh,
দাদু আসো
oh
It was
yes,
so
Sunday
interesting.
4 o'clock, Sunday 4 p.m.
Why?
হুম,
Yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
because of the people who are involved in it, because of the
Absolutely.
producer of this program, their interest. Where is this interest? I am doing a government job, 10 to 5. That is the biggest problem of this country. I don't do my duty, but I tell others. If you don't do your duty properly, you can, with this limited infrastructure, you can create havoc. That
absolutely
is how
absolutely
the fund was not that great in those times when মজদুর মন্ডলী কৃষি কথা স্বাস্থ্য গল্প দাদুর আসর তারপরে শিশু মহল
Mohila
আর
Mahal.
বেলাদির অনুষ্ঠানটা কি ছিল
বেলাদির
মহিলা
হচ্ছে
মহল
মহিলা
বেলাদির
মহল
মহিলা মহল টেল মি
Mhm. Right.
তখনও তো ফান্ড যে খুব ছিল নয় but they were very popular people to listen to this glued to
Only
it
the content.
In
এই
fact, sir, I had myself seen, like, people often
yes
say that there were listeners all the more in Calling All Children and Jubabani based
yes
programs, more
যুববাণী
than what we
যুববাণী
yes
used to have right now. So that
even
is
yeah
Vivid
something
Bharati,
more.
even Rupam
Vivid
da
Bharati,
about Vivid
right.
Bharati, Oasis, Born Vita. These are the milestone programs. Our
program
childhood days started with radio. Even not only that, the commentary of Ajoy Bose and Pushpen Sarkar during East Bengal Mohun Bagan match. We could visualize the matches going on. I could remember the running commentary from Trinidad and Tobago Port of Spain in the
Yes.
morning by Dicky
And
Ratnagar, India West
digital
Indies. We can visualize that Roberts is bowling and Gavaskar is batting with 5 slips and 1 gully, 1 point. And the way the
very
commentator is delivering was something outstanding.
exceptional.
So even radio is a medium which will be able to enhance your creativity, your
you can
thinking
always
pattern, because there
I
is no visual. Through just
yeah
voice modulation and sound, one can imagine that this thing is going on. So
Devanjan,
radio, uh,
yes, I cannot recollect the name right at the moment, but he was a great cricket writer. From West Indies, who is to talk about that? These are many phrases and these things which are
Rupam da,
good in your mind.
I could remember
Income
the
Prasanna,
commentary of
income Prasanna, moves
Kishore
in,
Bhimani,
goes
Kishore
to
Bhimani and
Kalichara.
Dicky Ratnagar. Kishore Bhimani, Dicky Ratnagar, Sushil Doshi in radio. Even the
Okay, all
matches
right.
in
But I'm
MCVs.
I'm see how the myths are created. Incomes Prasanna, moves in,
Uh,
bowls to
passes
Kalichara.
and passes umpire Dicky
See,
Bad. Passes umpire Dicky
yeah,
Bad and bowls. Right.
these are all glued in your heart. It's good. You cannot forget it because
Absolutely.
these are happening because the interest of the people who are involved in it.
Right.
And the conservative fund was not there. That much of money was not. But in today's world, the money is there, but that kind of
Intention and
intention
interest.
and with it
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
lacking. Radio can play havoc. Radio can do wonder if you have got a proper mind, if you have got interest, if you do honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sir, thank you so much for this beautiful session. But before we come to a close, I would just like to ask Dr. Sharkar if he can say at least in a line or two, considering like how we are reliving the good old times. And of course, it's so heartening to listen to Professor Rupam Banerjee, Professor Devanjan Banerjee, Promiti, and of course you, because you had given us some real good insights about the current times. If you can, in a line or two, state to us, like with the immense prospects that we have with internet radio, the web radio, and now that we are thinking of fostering a lot of developments by integrating, by bringing the web radio and checking on with people, the entrepreneurs who can also contribute significantly towards the cause of flourishing radio once again. What do you think should be the call right now for the present generation to wake up and relive the nostalgia of radio once again?
Yes, the history of radio is so rich. right? I see the present turning to be very interesting. And the future will be very, very exciting with a lot of technology in radio as well. But then essentially, we have to focus on content because I am sure that this is a challenge. And today, talking to youngsters, when we teach them online, it is only the voice, because or maybe a little bit of a body language of the teacher, if they are having their video on. It's so difficult because it's kind of a radio exchange, right?
Yeah.
And if we want to improve upon today's pedagogy, we have to have training in broadcasting. And because see, it is a performing art, teaching is a performing art, and you have only the voice.
Yes.
I'm sure Mr. Rupam was talking about simple thinking, simple sentences, pauses. You have to take dramatic pause, and let the audience also think that exactly what is coming next. I will not be surprised if my tomorrow's teaching online will also come with some kind of an background music or some
Yes.
background chorus noises, because we have to create a radio production.
True.
We have to
Yes.
create radio production. So what I can see, the future is very exciting, wherein each of the taught lesson can be a broadcast, and which can be archived. And I will really look forward to a future wherein we can connect communities with community radios, participatory radios, rural radios, for a better empowered society.
True. Absolutely correct.
Thank you
100%.
so much, sir. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Krishnendu Sarkar, Professor Rupam Banerjee, Professor Dipanjan Banerjee, and Professor Pramiti Roy. It was a lovely session, and it was more than a privilege for me being here as the moderator. And I learned a lot of things being with all the luminaries here. So thank you, Professor Anisha. I am also grateful to you for bringing me here. And after that, you had let me take this entire session all by myself. Over to you, Professor Anisha.
Thank you, Trinanjana, for this wonderful moderation.
Thank you. Thank
And
you, Trinanjana.
thank all the guests on behalf of my department. I would like to convey my heartiest gratitude to Trinanjana, Rupam Banerjee, Promiti, and Krishnendu sir is ours, so he's the host. I cannot give my gratitude to him. He's the main
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
everyone.
so much,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone.
So much. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you, thank
Absolute
you,
pleasure.
thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for coming here today and starting off our today's event on such a good note. Thank you so very much again. And I'm hoping we'll get to see each other very soon in real life, not
Sure,
just
sure.
through this virtual screen. Thank you again.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we are going to move on straight away to what we have been waiting for so very long. And that's the official launch of NSHM YFM web radio. I mean, the countdown has been severe on us, and we have been eagerly waiting for this minute to arrive. 12 o'clock has never felt this exciting rather than now in this very moment. So, amidst this whole pandemic situation, we have finally made this happen. And what a proud and humble moment it is for us, for all the students, for all the faculty members at NSHM Knowledge Campus. And on behalf of this institution, I would like to request you all to please welcome on screen for the official launch of our web radio today, none other than Cecil Anthony, Chief Mentor and Managing Trustee at NSHM Knowledge Campus, Dr. Marisha McAuliffe, Chief Academics and Quality System, Dr. Krishnendu Sarkar, Chief Strategy and Impact, NSHM Life Skills School, Dilip Singh Mehta, Chairman of Multicon Group, and unfortunately, Arnab sir could not join us today, but Arnab sir is the Chief Executive Officer at NSHM Knowledge Campus, and I'm sure he's out there watching us live at the moment and sending us all of his best wishes. I would like to take a few minutes to bring all of our esteemed guests for the official launch for the web radio today on screen with us. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Anisha. কেমন আছেন?
ভালো আছি ম্যাম, আপনি কেমন আছেন?
Hello. Lovely to be here.
It is lovely seeing you here, and I always say, ma'am, thank God for this digital thing that despite the distance, we get to see each other from time to time. And
Exactly.
you look radiant and lovely as always. And we have amongst us, Dilip sir is here, Cecil sir is here, Krishnendu sir is back amongst us, and he has been with us since the last 1 2 hours. And that always shows the kind of involvement he has with all of our events. Welcome, Cecil sir. Welcome, Dilip sir. Welcome, Krishnendu sir.
Thank you.
And before we start with the inauguration, I would like to request you all to share a few words about the upcoming web radio that NSHM is going to launch.
Thank you, Anisha. Uh, the viewers for this program today, it is really a proud moment for all of us to launch YFM Web Radio. Way back in 2013, NSHM launched YFM 91.2, and it has been probably the only community radio station which has been on air for the last 7 years consistently and even during the pandemic. My sincere thanks to Mr. Mehta, who took a lot of leadership in setting up the YFM radio station. His personal interest into it really helped us to push, get all the licenses, and the support which I've got from the senior team has been really wonderful to get the YFM radio going. And I should really thank the School of Media and Communication. They have been at it. The students, the faculty, all the members who are associated with the YFM radio station. And today, in order to increase our reach and in order to increase the audience, an international audience too, it's really a proud moment to see the YFM web radio coming online from today onwards.
Can
The
I clap?
YFM web radio app is available on the Android phone and would be soon available on the iOS platform too, globally. And while it is going to focus on three main live radio sections, the English, the Bengali, and the Hindi, that's three different languages which we are going to be available live. And I'm told that the YFM web station is going to focus on community radio, campus buzz, online classrooms, and events. It becomes another important tool for us to take education delivery to the next level. Viewers, it is really wonderful to see that the last few months have initiated some drastic revolution in the entertainment industry. Not only the entertainment industry, even the education industry. OTT, which was not too much talked of before, suddenly has become the flavor of the day. And I see that as a means and not an end. There's going to be a lot about the OTT effect, the creative expressions being unleashed, the expansion of choice which is going to happen, and a hyper personalized entertainment which will be readily available. It talks of tremendous opportunities and future growth. As is OTT, so is radio, so is a lot of other mediums. And I'm sure the basic fundamental behind all this is the art of storytelling. And I'm sure the future of storytelling is going to involve a lot of AI, a lot of gaming, and a lot of virtual and augmented reality. As a country, it is our time to leverage this strength. We have a very rich culture behind. And that culture is very important when we get into storytelling. We have great creative people around in this country, and especially in a state like West Bengal. What is really important for us to see is how these creative industries take up this new form of delivery, enabling essential transformations, talking about creative freedom, how we can unleash value through hardware localizations, or even the principle-based regulations which are being talked about are the things which will really see how all these OTT platforms, the internet radio, and so many newer forms will bloom in the years to come. I once again welcome all of you all on behalf of the Board of Trustees, the team members at NSHM, the Director of the School of Media and Communication, Dr. Firoz, and his entire team of faculty and students who have very passionately worked during the last few months to get YFM radio online. Thank you, congratulations, and a very big hand to all of you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I would now like to request Marisha ma'am if you could share a few words about the official launch of the NSHM YFM web radio.
Thank you, Anisha. And wonderful words there from Cecil. It's so very true. And let me tell you a little story about my ongoing long-term relationship with radio and community radio. My relationship with radio started when I was very, very little. We lived in a large farm, kilometers away from, many kilometers away from the local shops and away from the local communities. And we depended so very much on the community radio to share with us. And many of you might remember Richie Beno from the cricket world. And we used to listen to Richie, and my brothers and I used to mimic his accent over the radio. Carl Haas, which was an introduction for classical music for me. And oddly enough, it's funny how worlds tend to repeat, because I learnt through my childhood. I went to school through School of the Air, which was a form of radio, because we were too far away from school to actually, go to the school. We were many hundreds of kilometres away from the local school. So the school came to us through the local radio. And how very important and how very apt that we're now working online in another environment. We're learning online, we're teaching online in a new environment. That's nothing new. The Australia's School of the Air has been going for many decades now. The Open University UK has been working through a form of radio broadcast. And how important is it to get the voice of NSHM through to the community, through to the rural and regional environments as well? How delightful and rewarding it is to be part of an institution who does speak out and go to reach the community, because radio crosses borders. It breaks down the barriers. It takes cultures to new worlds, to new homes, to new places. How else would we know about, different countries and different ways that people, the food that they eat, the things that they say, and the music. The music is the thing that brings us together. So with that, on that note, I'd like to thank you so very much. Thank you, Cecil, and thank you, Krish. Thank you, Firoz, and all of the faculty, the wonderful faculty of the School of Media, and of course our students who do so much volunteering for us, who volunteer and get everything together, make sure everything happens without a hitch. On today's International Day of Volunteering, I'd like to say thank you to you all for volunteering. But remember that always it is truly a privilege, to be able to have a voice and to be able to share that voice with the community. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your lovely wishes. And now I would like to request Dilip sir is here amongst us, and we have been eagerly looking forward to hearing from Dilip sir. He had a lot to say yesterday, and I was extremely enthralled with the words that he was sharing with us yesterday. So, sir, if you could do the same for all the listeners who are listening to us live today, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anisha, and good afternoon, everybody on the panel, as well as all the listeners. Unfortunately, I'm having a little bit of an unstable internet connection, so I was going on and off the screen. That probably is going to be a major issue in times to come when number of people who are going to log on to the internet increases. Nevertheless, let's get on to the matter of the day. Heartiest congratulations to the NSHM team for upgrading what we started in 2013 as our first 91.2 YFM radio. It was a great moment for all of us. It was probably the only one in Eastern India. I don't know much about the rest of the country, but what is good and what is important and what is really commendable is that over the time, this is the only FM radio which has survived and which has flourished and which has reached millions of people in and around the circumference that it is allowed to cover. Today is a memorable day for all of us because 91.2 YFM is now going limitless. It's now going to get on to the web, and the advent of www was enough to take you across the entire universe. And that's exactly what's going to happen to you. And that's exactly what's going to happen to all the programs. And obviously, the moment you are into the universe or you are into an area where you have never even thought you would be, you have to survive with the content, the best of content that you can generate. I'm sure with this team, the dedicated team behind this entire show, as Cecil was rightly saying, storytelling or anything, or even journalism, or writing, or plotting, or designing, or anything that is required to make this venture successful, is all available at our own campus with our own team, with our own students, and they are top class. So I am sure that our web radio is going to make a mark, and there will be viewers coming in irrespective of the fact that it's not a commercial radio, or probably that's going to be your advantage, that it's not a commercial radio. Let me just conclude by saying that it's all about communication. What we started off was a single radio, single stream. We could hear Binaka Geetmala or whatever our other programs on. And as we have grown in time, the streams have multiplied. The desires have multiplied. So the bandwidths have multiplied. The gateways have multiplied. Today, like education, where we have over 1,000 courses available, where there were only a few available when the radio started off. Similarly, the desire for content, the type of content, the delivery people, the radios, the number of channels have all gone up, and they're going to keep going up. So the challenge is always there. And to meet this challenge, the only one thing which is going to differentiate you from the others is content. So we have definitely got to adhere to the fact that we as community radio now getting extended into web radio must comply with all the stipulations that the Information and Broadcasting Ministry has mandated on us as a community radio. So let us keep ourselves very focused that we are not a commercial radio. We are purely a community radio. and it is our purpose to disseminate information, art, culture, welfare, any information important to the people, the public, the general public at large, and whosoever, with the only and single intention that it's education and welfare. I think this is what we should follow, and I think we will do it very well. And my best wishes to all of you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. And I thank my stars that your internet disruption happened right towards the very end. So we didn't miss out on the best wishes and the words that you had to share with us. And yesterday, when I was listening to you, I wanted you to say the same to all the viewers. And thank you, sir, for doing that. And I'm sure it was inspiring, motivating for all of the listeners here. And of course, for the team that's working on this web radio as well. Thank you so very much, sir. And of course, we cannot officially start our inaugural session without listening from Krishnendu, sir, because he is the one who always motivates and inspires the best out of the students. So, sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And such a great day and such a great moment, particularly for me. I have seen these two persons, Mr. Cecil Anthony and Mr. Dilip Singh Mehta, 2013. And when I was hearing them, and they are visionaries and they were giving us a big picture. And I never thought that 2020, we will come up with, in a very transformative experience like this, a web radio. So thanks to you, gentlemen. And today we have Marisha out here, Dr. Marisha, and what a moment, Dr. Marisha, that we are in these transformative junctures. But many of us probably might not know the fact that it was not 2013, it was 10 years back. 2003, when we had media and communication in our Durgapur campus. And that point of time, the Durgapur campus was pretty active with communities. In fact, we are doing vision camps, and we wanted community to participate in all our learning and experiencing process. And the idea floated from there, and thanks to Durgapur campus, lovely. And I'm sure that there can be another little transformative moment now that you all are here, that if in Durgapur we can have a mini hub for production and post-production, so that we can put that content to online, and we can add to our great experiences which we'll be having with web radio. Now, this gives me in particular a lot of motivation, and I'm sure it will have a rub off with each one of us, especially the faculty, that here is a room for great experimentation. And we can see radio was all through a non-formal education tool. I mean, obviously it was entertaining and it was giving a lot of information, but when it came to education, it was non-formal. So with this online and OTT, which Mr. Anthony said, and the new media, there is a kind of I can see some kind of a light end of the tunnel, that radio can be big with formal education as well. I'm very happy to see that if you have this YFM app, and if you open that app, and you can see some classroom schedules which are there, and they're pretty good and so interesting, and probably there is room for more, and we can add a little bit more media and make each of our taught classes and lessons so very interesting, and those can be archived. And in my earlier panel, we were discussing about how we can connect communities with community radio. So it's a lot of promise, and great. This is looking like a very new day, and it's as if radio is reborn. And I'm sure this will be having a very long innings and a lot of transformative changes in between. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the very best, and great luck, and just rock. That's it. Cheers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. And so is the situation and so is the involvement and inclusiveness here at NSHM that Arnab sir is here amongst us and he has joined us. He has taken out time and he is here with us. And I would like to request him to please share a few words before we move ahead with the official launch. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning to the viewers. Oh, finally we are here. We are on the app. I mean, that is a big transformation for the entire NSHM community and the community at large. I mean, we were, Krishandu was talking about from community Durgapur, how we developed and conceptualized the community situation, and we came into community radio, and today it is there on the app, and it's fantastic. It's a transformation. I mean, it's for the new generation. I'm telling the entire generation is on this, and I would like to say that this is kudos to the NSHM media and communication team and NSHM Knowledge Campus at large. It's a tremendous effort been put behind this, and I appreciate the concern of each and every team member who have contributed finally into this process, and we are today live, and we are global. And in fact, when we launched our community radio at this campus, it was few years, few miles, few kilometers, and probably we survived as a community radio station in Kolkata. In Eastern India, we finally survived in a small or bigger way. Today, though, it has gone beyond limits. So anyone, everyone, everybody is welcome, and we are live with our radio station, and lot to do with the community, lot to do with the society, and I feel that we will bring in best of the resources in place to make it the best use for the society. And NSHM always was there for the society, and I hope we will live up to the expectation of the society by serving the society through our community radio station. Best wishes to everyone who into the process. Best wishes to NSHM media and communication team. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir. And now, without further ado, the moment that we had all been waiting for in the last few days, few minutes, and few seconds is finally coming to its fulfillment. And we are officially ready with what NSHM YFM Web Radio is all about, what it promises to deliver, and what lies ahead for the launch of NSHM YFM Web Radio.
Hi, I'm Cecil Anthony, Chief Mentor of Nshm Knowledge Campus, and welcome to YFM Web Radio of Nshm Knowledge Campus. We are proud to go live with your favorite music, talk shows, podcasts, and edutainment all in one app. The world is listening. I am listening. Are you listening too?
Hi, I am Dilip Singh Mehta, Chairman of Multicon Group and Chairman Trustee of Nshm Knowledge Campus. You are listening to YFM Web Radio. I am listening. The world is listening. Are you listening too?
Hi, I'm Arnab Roy, CEO NSHM Group of Institution. NSHM YFM Web Radio. I am listening. The world is listening. Are you listening too?
It's Dr. Marisha McAuliffe, Chief of Academics and Quality Systems here at NSHM. NSHM YFM Web Radio. I am listening. The world is listening. Are you listening too?
Web Radio YFM NSHM will add to the idea of inclusion, where, what if in a limited way, voices are heard from diverse groups and sources. Cogent participation upholds the spirit of democracy, rational thinking, breaks the narrow opinionated walls, young minds are set free to fill their dreams, and tomorrow begins new hope and value to life and living of all people.
Hi, this is Firoz Muhammad, Director NSHM School of Media and Communication. YFM have always been a vital instrument of our life. So keep listening. YFM, NSHM Web Radio.
নমস্কার, আমি পার্থ ভৌমিক, মহবুল ব্যান্ডের লিড ভোকালিস্ট এবং ফোক সিঙ্গার। আপনারা শুনছেন NSHM YFM ওয়েব রেডিও। শুনতে থাকুন, সঙ্গে থাকুন।
আমাকে আমার মতো থাকতে দাও, আমি নিজেকে নিজের মতো গুছিয়ে নিয়েছি।
নমস্কার, আমি অনুপম। আপনারা শুনছেন NSHM YFM ওয়েব রেডিও। শুনতে থাকুন।
Hi, this is Melissa Srivastav. I'm a singer and songwriter. You're listening to NSHM YFM Web Radio. Keep listening.
Though there's distance, we are here together. The hurdle's gonna break us, it's now or never. Hope is the key that's keeping us alive. Tune in and groove along to the voice behind. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM.
NSHM YFM. The world is listening. Are you?
This is NSHM YFM Web Radio.
Welcome to Limelight.
Durga, starting from this college, we have heard rumors about you. You know, some of us told that you break cities, some of us told you bomb places, and the others said that you sing as well.
Leaves lie on the ground. Fall has come. सावन भी तो जाए पिहरवा, सावन भी तो जाए पिहरवा।
YFM की तरफ से आप सबको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं।
মানে নিজেকে শেপে রাখতে গেলে অনেকগুলো ফ্যাক্টর কাজ করে। এক নম্বর হচ্ছে যে খাওয়া দাওয়া তো প্রথমত আসেই। মানে আমার বাহ্যিক সুন্দর তখনই থাকবে যদি আমি আভ্যন্তরীণভাবে নিজেকে সুন্দর রাখতে পারি।
কে কে আপনি?
চেনা যাচ্ছে না?
না।
অন্তত মই না তুই। অশোক, গৌতম, হামিদ বা ফিলিপ যে কোনো নামে আমাকে ডাকতে পারেন।
सो फ्रेंड्स, अब तक आप जिन्हें सुन रहे थे वो है हमारी संचिता रॉय.
Hello, friends. You're listening to Limelight with Pooja. As promised, we bring budding talents to the show and have nice chit chat with them over a cup of coffee.
Once we wake up in the morning till we go to sleep, we all are encircled with the keyword news.
ओके, दैट रियली साउंड्स ग्रेट विकास. लेकिन अब हम चाहते हैं कि आप थोड़ा सा अपना कुछ जो भी आपको पसंद हो वो आप हमें कुछ सुनाएं.
Parla più piano e vieni più vicino per lima lukai rakhana angaloma badi rakha.
লোকটি নেহাত বেকার ছিল, তার কোনো কাজ ছিল না, কেবল শখ ছিল নানা রকমের।
Today we will be discussing journalism and ethics. So let's start today's class.
আমরা যারা চাইল্ড স্পেশালিস্ট তারা যদি এইটাকে একটুখানি গুরুত্ব দিয়ে ভাবি তাহলে কিন্তু অনেক ক্যান্সার আমরা কিন্তু সারাতে পারি।
In one particularly cold evening, they were preparing to ward off the chill.
Actually our songs are based on a positive aspect of life, तो हम लोग पॉजिटिविटी को दिखाते हैं ज्यादा।
तुम हो जैसे बहती हवाएं, तुम हो जैसे बहती हवाएं, छू के यूं खो जाए मन में.
Though there's distance, we are here together. The hurdle's gonna break it. It's now or never. Hope is the key that's keeping us alive. Tune in and groove along to leave voice behind. Tune in to NSHMYFM. Tune in to NSHMYFM. Tune in to NSHMYFM. Tune in to NSHMYFM.
NSHM YFM. The world is listening. Are you?
And with that, we are officially now available on various app stores. And as Arnab sir has rightly pointed out, finally the journey has come to the halt where we can finally take our phone, go to the app store and find NSHM YFM available on app stores. Now, you may, of course, go to the app store. It's available on your app store and you can download NSHM YFM and you can listen to well-curated content 24/7. And we are going live with 3 different languages, Bengali, Hindi, and English. And that is it. That is where the journey now begins. It doesn't come to a halt. Here, henceforward, is the journey that lies ahead of us with the launch of NSHM YFM Web Radio. Now, we cannot wrap up this session without extending our gratitude and our heartiest gratitude towards all the people who have made this entire event, this entire launch possible, and of course who are going to contribute to the journey that lies ahead of us. And to talk a little bit about that, I would like to welcome on screen Dr. Firoz Muhammad, who is the director at NSHM School of Media and Communication, to talk on behalf of the entire team and to represent us and our heartiest gratitude towards all the people involved in making this dream turn into a reality. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, one and all. Good afternoon, my senior colleagues and top dignitaries here on the inaugural day of NSHM YFM web radio. Mr. Cecil Anthony, Managing Trustee, Chief Mentor, NSHM Group of Institutions. Mr. Dilip Singh Mehta, Chairman, Trustee, NSHM Group of Institutions. Thank you very much, sir, for taking time out of a busy schedule and come to today's inaugural session, and you have blessed us. The journey which you started, the initiative which we take, just little humble effort on our part on our part of the School of Media and Communication, and especially our students and our colleagues at NSC School of Media and Communication. Mr. Arnab Roy is CEO, NSHM Group of Institutions. Thank you, sir. Your unconditional love and support, with ever smiling, ever smiling, you make things absolutely easy for us. I would also, I thank Dr. Professor Marisha, all the way from Australia. She's here. Very nice and kind of you, ma'am, to be here and to be part of our inaugural session. And Professor Krishnendu Sarkar, you encourage us, you motivate us, you intellectually stimulate us, sensitize us. I have no words. And today we are here. So thank you again on behalf of NSHM School of Media and Communication, on behalf of my students. They are truly so hardworking. And also on behalf of my colleagues at NSHM School of Media and Communication, Mr. Cecil Anthony, Mr. Dilip Singh Mehta, Dr. Marisha, Mr. Arnab Roy, and Professor Kishan Sarkar. I was listening to all the blessings you have showered on us, but it comes to us with great responsibilities. And I, on behalf of the School of Media and Communication, can only say that we'll try our best to come up to all of your expectations. We are not stopping here. With the successful launch of NSHM YFM Web Radio, we are moving forward with YTV, Y Web TV very soon. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Have a very pleasant and nice day ahead. I will meet very soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for joining us today and making this launch possible. Nothing would have been possible without all of your support and faith in us. And I'm sure with your continuous support, this is going to be a success henceforth. Thank you so very much. And please do stay with us for the rest of the event, because we have been able to curate a wonderful event for the launch day of NSHM YFM Web Radio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Anisha.
Thank you. All the
Thank you,
best.
sir. Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Now, without further ado, I'm going to give you a sneak peek into what the launch event is going to be all about. And I know you already have had a sneak peek in the last 2 hours, because it has been nothing less than the grandeur that we had promised to deliver right from the very beginning. Now, when we had started off with the promotion of the event, there was only one thing which was going on in our mind, and that was to deliver what we promised. And I'm hoping we are able to maintain that. Now, it's time to relax a little bit. At the end of the day, it's about the weekend. At the end of the day, it's also Saturday, and it's also 1 o'clock. The time where we all relax, have some food with our family and friends, and probably go for a short nap. And we are not going to disrupt that, because amidst all the celebrations lies a little bit of me time. So we are going to let you all take a very short break, have your food, have your cup of coffee. And as I always say, nothing and no one can function without a cup of coffee, right? So this is a short coffee break which we all are going to take, have some time, and then rejoin us sharp at 2 o'clock. Because starting from 2 o'clock, we have in store for you insightful discussion with media scholars and media professionals, followed by the performances, the highlight of today's event. And each minute henceforth will be worth the wait. Now, take a short break and join us sharp at 2 p.m. Welcome back to the official launch day of NSHM YFM Web Radio. And we are back after a very short break, and I hope you had the time to sip on your cup of coffee. And this is the time we are going to now indulge in very insightful conversation with very prominent media scholar. And for that, we have with us none other than Preeti Raghunath. Dr. Preeti Raghunath's research interest lies in the official study of media policy making in South Asia. And today she is here talking about her book titled Community Radio Policies in South Asia, a Deliberative Policy Ecology Approach. And what an intriguing title to a very intriguing conversation that lies ahead of us. She's also an assistant professor at the Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication, Pune. And she holds a PhD from the University of Hyderabad. And we are honestly very looking forward to this insightful conversation that we are going to have with her. And for moderating this conversation, we have with us none other than Dr. Firoz Mohammed, who is the director here at NSHM School of Media and Communication. And first of all, I would like to call on screen today to start off with this insightful session, Dr. Firoz Mohammed, who is going to, on behalf of us, introduce a very, very, very renowned media scholar, Dr. Preeti Raghunath. Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sir, I'm going to leave it over to you to introduce our media scholar for the day and start off with the interactive session that we have planned ahead for today. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anisha. Very, very good afternoon to all the attendees and all the participants who are part of this beautiful journey. We are in the process of launching our NSHM YFM web radio, and on this occasion, we have Dr. Preeti Raghunath with us. Dr. Preeti Raghunath, you are an assistant professor at the Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication, Symbiosis International University, Pune. Your areas of work and expertise are media policies, media anthropology in South Asia, data governance in India, and you are also very keen on conceptualizing the data rights. During our conversation, we'd like to know about data rights. Your research work and your practice are located at the intersections of South Asian studies, critical media policy studies, human security, and policy ethnography. You are also vice chair of the Global Media Policy Working Group at the International Association for Media and Communication Research, IAMCR. And I'm also a member of IAMCR. You're also editor of the Media Anthropology Research Collective. It's a South Asian voluntary group. Before pursuing your academia, you had a good stint with print media. You were a broadcast journalist, and also you worked in the areas of corporate communication. Prior to joining University of Hyderabad, you studied politics with specialization in international relations at the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. And I'm so very proud that today I will be talking and discussing the future of community media with Dr. Preeti Raghunath. And Dr. Preeti Raghunath, I also did my master's, my MPhil, and my doctoral degree from JNU. Your first book, that is Community Radio Policies in South Asia, a Deliberative Policy Ecology Approach,
is available now. And this particular book, this seminal, this landmark work, focuses on community radio policy making in 4 South Asian countries. That's Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. The book is an ethnography of policy making for community radio in 4 South Asian countries, Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. I, on behalf of Nshm School of Media and Communication at Nshm Knowledge Campus, Kolkata, heartily welcome Dr. Preeti Nagunath.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me over. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Dr. Preeti Nagunath is not one of the, but she is the rising media scholar in India. I very closely follow media education in India and the media research, media academia in India. And she is the rising media scholar and media researcher. We are so very proud to have you with us, Dr. Preeti Nagunath. Thank you for being here.
So thank you so much for those very kind words. I'm very humbled. I would love to see what lies ahead in this conversation with you on my book and if anything related to whatever.
Nothing much. Yeah, Dr. Preeti, nothing much, but your book to begin with, your book, Community Radio Policies in India, in South Asia, sorry. And now, I also did a project, and that particular project is called Media South Asia. I worked with Professor Dr. William Crawley and David Page, Media South Asia project, and I'm sure you will be familiar with that particular project. Yes. I was one of the researchers part of that particular book, and that particular book was Ford Foundation International project. So your book, coming back to your book, Community Radio Policies in South Asia, a deliberative policy ecology approach. I find it academically, I find it very intriguing. So please tell us about this particular work, your book.
Sure, sir. So, when I started my work, let me maybe talk a little bit about my background. I have a background in international relations and politics and in communication. And therefore, I was interested in studying something that was slightly international in nature. And therefore, because of my abiding interest in South Asia and the region, I wanted to work on something related to media policies in South Asia. And it so happened that I enrolled for a PhD at the University of Hyderabad, the Department of Communication. The department has a very strong focus on community radio. And therefore, I decided to pursue a PhD that looked at community radio policies in South Asia. The work as such looks at how traditionally the study of policy has looked at policy documents or legal documents that look at how certain media are governed. I personally wanted to go beyond such an approach. Of course, policy documents are important, but I wanted to go beyond that approach to study the politics of policy making. Who are the policy actors involved for community radio in South Asia? What are the kinds of interests and norms that they talk about when they talk about community radio and champion the cause of community radio? What are the various venues in which policy making happens? We often think that policy is done by the government. But the idea was to try and bring together a bottom-up approach to the study of policy, where you privilege the study of a range of policy actors, including international organizations and multilateral donor agencies, but also grassroots activists, NGOs, advocates, advocacy groups, government bodies, including various ministries. For example, in India, you have the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, but also you have the MHA and the MOSIT, who is involved in spectrum management, etc. So there are a range of policy actors involved in the policy process for community radio. So therefore, my interest was in opening up this black box of policy to try and examine this entire space and to try and study the politics of policy making for community radio in Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, and Bangladesh, and to also sort of conduct a historiography and a contemporary history of policy making for community radio, where the journey from the late 1970s onwards is put together and brought out in one volume. That was the effort.
So very interesting. Dr. Priti, before coming back to your book again, some few reflective, questions and some of your reflections. Please tell us how, as an easy access platform, the new media is impacting the significance of community radio.
Well, I don't think, I mean, in today's times, it's very difficult to demarcate media in as traditional media and new media. We see the confluence of various kinds of media. We see that entities, technology corporations and entities are now considered as media organizations. For example, Facebook or a Twitter is also as much a media organization today because they deal with so much of content. And therefore, this demarcation between traditional and new media is blurring in a big way. And therefore, that is also reflected in the realm of community radio. I mean, you yourself know, I mean, this is the launch of a web radio. And we see that community radios are increasingly online. They're broadcasting online. They have a lot of social media presence. So this the dichotomy is increasingly blurring is what I find.
Yeah, so taking cue from your insights, please tell us how community radio can best leverage or absorb new technologies or emerging technologies. Now, today we are launching our NSHM YFM web radio. NSHM School of Media and Communication, we are community radio since 2013. And now, with the digitalization, we thought that it is sooner or later we need to go online. So please tell us how community radio can best leverage or absorb new technologies or emergent technologies.
Well, I mean, from my understanding, I think there's a space for both. There is a need for both, and it can be a complementary relationship. In other words, because while we speak of global convergence, and that has been the case over the last decade or a couple of decades, especially with increasing internet penetration, the coming of mobile data, etc., which has been a game changer in India, we see that internet access has a higher reach than before, and therefore looking at community radio in convergence online is definitely the way forward. However, I also think there's a space in the radio landscape for something like community media, which works with analog kind of technology, because it's about the idea of accessing spectrum. It's about the idea of making space for certain kinds of voices, which otherwise would not find representation in mainstream media. So I think these are complementary. They can play a complementary role with each other, because at the end of the day, you want to occupy space. You want to, in the larger media landscape, you want to make space for divergent kind of audiences of both new media as well as traditional media.
Yes. So somewhere convergence on the one side and the divergence on the one side. Because community radio as a distinct media remains distinct for its own distinct attributes. That's what you're saying. So it is convergence and divergence both. Yes. So tell us, in such a fragmented media world, can new media create public square where people can be heard and hear each other? Because that is where the community radio and the coming to convergence and the divergence in the context of community radio media comes into prominence and also in significance. Can new media create a public square where people can be heard and hear each other?
Absolutely. And one of the best things about the South Asian region is that it is so rich in oral histories and oral cultures. The new media, as well as, I mean, something like a web radio, has the opportunity to not only reach out to a global audience, but also take these very localized voices onto a global platform and become a global kind of a media. I think there's a lot of potential on that front.
Yes, as part of our NSHM web radio, what we are doing, that the offline community radio, the content we are taking online, making it accessible to one and all across the globe. That's one, as what we are creating. Besides that, easy accessibility, internet. So it is through our app that we will be reaching out to communities and asking them to download our app, and they will be accessing our radio content. Coming back to your book, which I find very interesting. Now, before I go ahead, Dr. Preeti, here is a question. I have a question from Dr. Dipanjan Banerjee, Pew Banerjee. Okay, Pew Banerjee. My question to Dr. Preeti: how do you foresee the role of community radio based on web platform in post-pandemic scenario?
Sure. I mean, the pandemic, if anything, has only accentuated the need for online education, online entertainment, online interaction in a big way. And while there is a digital divide, we increasingly recognize the need for investment, infrastructure development, and some kind of a focus on developing the online space for various reasons in India, especially. And therefore, any kind of medium like community radio, which is increasingly intertwined as we speak with the web, has a huge role to play in the post-pandemic scenario, because simply because of the fact that it continues to give space to people who do not find representation otherwise. Community radios have, like, for example, Gurgaon Ki Awaaz in Gurgaon have worked with migrants during the pandemic times. That's an example of how the very soul of perhaps the labor force or groups that are otherwise not represented in the mainstream continue to find some kind of a resonance in community radio. And in the post-pandemic scenario, that is what should be accentuated further. Another area where we can foresee the role of community radio intertwined with the web in the post-pandemic scenario is in education. I think that can happen in a big way to be very conducive to do that.
Now, we feel so delighted and so happy and so encouraged when you say this. While we have launched, coming back to your book, that is Community Radio Policies in South Asia. How important is it to study community radio policies?
The reason I was very interested in community radio policies is, like I mentioned, the idea of orality is so important in South Asia. Oral cultures and oral histories are so important in South Asia. And when you have a policy mechanism that governs the orality, it decides what kind of voices find representation in any medium and what kind of voices are left out. It is about communicative abilities and the ability to be part of the communication system in the country, right? So in that sense, I find that media policy of any kind should be enabling these voices, should be enabling to the idea of capturing orality at various sites. And therefore, the study of media policy and the study of policy for community radio becomes important in that aspect.
Yeah. So your book, Community Radio Policies in South Asia. Please tell us how and why did you conceptualize it as a regional study? I have a question. I have a question, Dr. Preeti, from Ayushi Sinha, and she's asking, Preeti ma'am, please enlighten us how the radio landscape should get better. What modern ideas you can share with us?
the radio landscape can get better when it is more deliberative, when it takes into account the various issues that are important in the country and offers a reflective, deliberative space. I think increasingly we see that deliberative spaces are finding it difficult to sustain themselves, and a huge contribution of radio would be to actually create that kind of a deliberative space in India or any other country. Going back to your previous question, sir, why did I want to conceptualize regional study? The idea was to try and see interconnections in the larger South Asian region, because India has never existed in isolation. The modern idea of the nation state is a very recent phenomenon, and things like community radio have, for example, when I did fieldwork in Nepal, they were talking about how there was a radio station on the Bihar side on the Indian side in Bihar, which was broadcasting from Bihar but was heard in the Madesi region in Nepal. So airwaves do not follow the boundaries of the nation state, and therefore it is very interesting to conceptualize a regional study where you see these interconnections and interlinkages between countries. Also, when investments come in, it is focused on a larger region is not only solely country based. Therefore, these interlinkages become very important to study.
True.
And I think in media studies especially become very important to go beyond national review to try and conceptualize a regional study. I think it's about time we do that in India.
Yeah, so true. When we were pursuing our Media South Asia project under William Crawley, Dr. William Crawley and Dr. David Page, we were in Kathmandu, and we were there, and then we went to Radio Sagarmatha.
Yeah.
Yes, Radio Sagarmatha. We were there, and what an enriching experience that was. Deepak Thapa was one of our, co-researchers. I mean, you would know Deepak Thapa if you have worked in the area of, community radio policies in South Asia. Dr. Priti, what is your message to media educators through your book? But before I proceed this, you see, you are getting so many questions, and I think so interesting. And so many people, our participants and attendees are very much. How does community radio policy in South Asia differ from the rest of the continent?
By continent, I'm assuming that this is Asia. Community radios in South Asia have a very distinctive flavor, in the sense that it has been a hybrid kind of an experience. It started off by a gentleman who I had the fortune of interviewing. He started community radio based on his Danish experience when he visited Sri Lanka in the late 1970s. And it so happened that I was able to interview him when I visited Sri Lanka in 2013-2014. These experiences have come from the international space, but they have been very easily absorbed by localized communities, by activists, freedom of expression and communication rights activists and advocates in the region in a big way. And therefore, community radio policies in the region are made by people who have extensive exposure to the idea of freedom of expression and the right to communicate, and therefore it is intrinsically very democratically governed. However, with time we see that the state, with the empowering of the nation state in a big way in the last few years, we see that these spaces are becoming smaller and smaller, and that is something that is a cause of concern and is something that one must pay attention to. I do not want to comment on the rest of the continent, because Southeast Asia has very, very different experiences. For example, Thailand and the Philippines have very different experiences. But right now, we do have some kind of similarities, in the sense that we have some crackdowns on initiatives which encourage plural voices, and that is a cause for concern.
That is truly a cause of concern. Yeah, truly, you said. Now, what is your message to media educators through this work, through this book?
Well, the first thing that I would like to convey is that we need to take the realm of media policy studies seriously and delve deeper, because it's still very nascent in the region and in India. It would be wonderful to if this can pay way to some kind of a further investment, intellectual investment into media policy studies. That's number one. Number two is it would be wonderful if we begin theorizing media studies better from a non-Western perspective, from South Asia, from the vantage point of South Asia. The deliberative policy ecology approach that I've put together is an effort in making that happen. And therefore, any kind of interest in taking that framework forward, taking that approach forward, would be truly enriching for me as an academic. And thirdly, it would be wonderful if we continue to conceptualize regional studies, if we continue to work with our neighbors, increase multilateral cooperation in the realm of education and media education in particular. I think these are the three things that would be my message to media educators.
I think we'll have many more questions, but as we continue talking, two concepts. One is media anthropology. And I also know there is another distinct subject of inquiry called visual anthropology. So if you could elaborate on media anthropology, and then if you can also elaborate on data rights, that's very important.
Sure. So media anthropology is an effort that a few of us, in fact, it's a product of the pandemic. A few of us with abiding interest in media studies and in anthropology, in ethnographies, came together to create this platform called the Media Anthropology Research Collective, focused on South Asia. We are in fact putting together an editorial now on media anthropology in India, co-edited by me and an anthropologist from IIT Hyderabad. And we are in the process of putting it together. Media anthropology in itself has found very less focus in India. But increasingly we have a lot of ethnographies happening in communication and media studies. So the idea was to try and see if we could push the ambit further, to go beyond just ethnographies, but to look at histories and historiographies, to look at ethnologies, an ethno-methodological approach to communication studies. If we can conceptualize this space called media anthropology in India, which looks at human action in the realm of media and communication studies. So that's what media anthropology is all about, very briefly put. The second concept is data rights. We are living in a data-fying world, and the data is increasingly becoming a space of great importance as a resource. But also, I mean, we have lawyers in India who speak about privacy, who are talking about the personal data protection bill, which is to be tabled in the parliament and which is in with a standing committee currently. So there have been debates in the realm of privacy, but non-personal data is another realm where if your data as an individual, if your data is taken by corporations or entities or any kind of organization, including government organizations, and is pseudonymized and anonymized, it is then used to create larger patterns to govern human behavior. And it could potentially be dangerous. However, one can conceptualize the idea of data rights in that realm to try and see how economic benefits can be accrued for the individual in question. For instance, if the company is monetizing my data based on my behavior or my bodily attributes, etc., how can I stake a claim in the money that is being made out of my own data? That is number one. Secondly, I should be able to say no to data collection. I should be able to refrain from giving my data at any point. So I'm interested in trying to conceptualize data rights that goes just beyond the realm of privacy. privacy has been dealt with in a big way. But looking at data rights as communication rights, data rights as economic rights is something that I'm interested in conceptualizing. And it's very nascent at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, privacy has been dealt in big way, but nonetheless, privacy remains an illusion. And that is why what you are conceptualizing and what you are working on, data rights, is going to be very relevant, going to be very futuristic, and going to be very pro-social. Now, I again have a question, and this particular question to our respected question to me. Okay, our respected to Dr. Firoz and our respected guest. How the influence of the corporates to invest community radio initiatives as part of their CSR initiatives in South Asia. Now, I think Professor Devanjan Banerjee here again, he's asking the role of corporates in funding or in as part of their CSR initiatives in promoting community radio, and so your take on this.
I mean, community radio continues to struggle with funding crunches, and funds are a huge, cause of concern for community radios. So any kind of CSR inputs would be welcome. However, one must be aware of corporate agendas in working with communities, and if one can strike a balance between an egalitarian approach that a corporate would perhaps be interested in promoting, and in working with them for the betterment of the community, one can obviously, there are community radios that do that today. There are large NGOs which work with corporates for CSR activities. I don't think it's a new concept. I mean, it's been there ever since the government permitted CSR investments in NGOs. I think this was a few years ago, 2015, 2014 is when it happened. So ever since, there has been this abiding interest by corporates in community radio. However, the challenge remains in continuing to hold the editorial and the agenda of the community radio station in the hands of the community, in the hands of the people who run it, instead of handing that over to corporates.
Yeah, thank you. Now, as I said, NSHM YFM web radio is an extension of our community radio. And please, your few suggestions, your few insights, few advices to us and to our team as how to go ahead and make it a success.
Well, so I think you're already poised in a big way for success, because you've taken this step in advancing. You already have that experience of having run a community radio station and advancing that to the digital realm. I think one way would be to continue to encourage student involvement in a big way. I think, especially with education going online, I think web radio is a great space to bring in a lot of interactions with international, scholars or key scholars in India. That can be a great space for learning and investment in knowledge in a big way. So I think something like YFM could be setting that path for educational institutions in becoming a space for knowledge generation during the pandemic times especially. So that is definitely one area that I would watch out for and be interested in.
Thank you very much. So valuable, Dr. Preeti. Will definitely strive hard to make this happen. Thank you very much for your valuable time. And I, on behalf of NSHM School of Media and Communication, my students, my colleagues at NSHM Knowledge Campus, Kolkata, wish you all the best. Your work, community radio policies in South Asia, I see it as a landmark work. I could read, I was trying to get access of this particular book, but couldn't. Otherwise, I could have flaunted that particular book right here to my participants and audiences. But very soon I'm going to get the book
I
here.
can do that on
Yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much.
So,
thank you so much for the encouragement and being so positive about my work. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Yes. And one is very soon, I think when things are normal and more apparent, on the sidelines of NSHM Community Radio and NSHM Web FM, we'd like to do, some, sort of workshop or roundtables where we will be inviting you to visit Kolkata and come here to interact with the community and with the policymakers, with the media fraternity here, to talk about your book and your understanding, your insights about community media and community radio. There is a question here from Professor Pradipto Kumar Ghosh. In this digital era, when various FM channels are losing listeners, how to retain listeners in metro cities community radio? So,
well, I think the key to that answer is good programming. I mean, nothing can beat good content. So if the content is good, I mean, that is the way one can retain listeners, especially in the metro cities, because the competition that community radios that function in metro cities is with FM channels and private FM stations, which have very racy content, which have very fast-paced content. So good content, which is rooted in everyday experiences of the people of the city and which is meaningful to them. I think that if the focus is on that, I think that would be a game changer again in the city space.
Such valuable insights, and they're going to be so useful for us to take it forward. And as you said, that the real challenge, as you said, is to I mean, not that we are going to compete with the private FM channel operators here. Nonetheless, the focus on the content which is going to be engaging, intriguing as your book. You say deliberative, so intriguing, engaging, interesting, meaningful, useful, relevant. Talking about communication purposes, we talk about the informational role of communication or media, that is surveillance, and one is the instrumental role of media, which the content which our community can use it, or the people can listen and use such content in our their day-to-day activities. Thank you very much from
thank you so much,
from on behalf of NSHM School of Media and Communication, NSHM Knowledge Campus, Kolkata. Thank you very, very much. Such an insightful and such an intellectually stimulating deliberations on community media in the context of community radio, policies, media anthropologies, and I'm truly humbled, that you could take time out. And last but not least, which is a major concern, and you are working in that particular area, that's data rights.
Yes,
privacy.
Thank you so much.
A lot of work has been done when it comes to privacy, but privacy remains an illusion. And that is where your work, your another work, is going to be very landmark and it's going to be very futuristic. Dr. Priti, thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. And I was a fan listening to you, and I think, as sir has very rightly put, that you truly are inspiring with your words, and each minute of this session has been very insightful and extremely enriching. And I think listening to someone like you, it inspires us, to say the very least. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming here today and being a part of this event. And thank you, sir.
Yes, this particular conversation, we are immediately taking onto our web radio in the podcast format.
Surely, sir, surely.
And this particular conversation, immediately after the post-production, we are sharing with all important key stakeholders everywhere. Thank you, Dr. Preeti. Thank you. It was truly delightful,
Thank you so much.
insightful, intellectual discussion. Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye. Have a very nice and pleasant day ahead. Take good care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay hearty.
All
Thank you.
of that to you as well, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks. Thank you.
Now, after that amazing start to the second half of the launch day, we are going to take a very short break because before we resume with the fun, it is also necessary to take a break so that we gear up ourselves for all the fun that lies ahead. So we started off today with this amazing panel discussion. We moved on to this inaugural session where we officially had the launch of NSHM YFM web radio. We took a short break. We went for our lunch and a coffee. We came back and we resumed with an interactive session with none other than Dr. Preeti Raghunath. And now we are going to go for a few minutes break so that we catch hold of our breath before we start off with what lies ahead. It's all fun and games from here. But before that, we are going to go for a short 10 minutes break before we resume with the third part of today's session of radio launch of NSHM YFM web radio.
This is NSHM YFM web radio.
Welcome to Limelight.
Durga, starting from this college, we have heard rumors about you. Some of us told that you break cities, some of us told you bomb places, and the others said that you sing as well.
Leaves lie on the ground, fall has come, savan bhi to jaye piharwa, savan bhi to jaye piharwa.
YFM की तरफ से आप सबको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं।
মানে নিজেকে শেপে রাখতে গেলে অনেকগুলো ফ্যাক্টর কাজ করে। এক নম্বর হচ্ছে যে খাওয়া দাওয়া তো প্রথমত আসেই। মানে আমার বাহ্যিক সুন্দর তখনই থাকবে যদি আমি আভ্যন্তরীণভাবে নিজেকে সুন্দর রাখতে পারি।
কি আপনি?
চেনা যাচ্ছে না?
না।
অন্তত মই না তুই। অশোক, গৌতম, হামিদ বা ফিলিপ যে কোনো নামে আমাকে ডাকতে পারেন।
सो फ्रेंड्स, अब तक आप जिन्हें सुन रहे थे वो है हमारी संचिता रॉय।
Hello friends, you're listening to Limelight with Pooja. As promised, we bring budding talents to the show and have nice chit chat with them over a cup of coffee.
Once we wake up in the morning till we go to sleep, we all are encircled with the keyword news.
Okay, that really sounds great Bikash, लेकिन अब हम चाहते हैं कि आप थोड़ा सा अपना कुछ जो भी आपको पसंद हो वो आप हमें कुछ सुनाएं।
Parla più piano e vieni più vicino a me, per lima lukai rakhana angaloma badi rakha।
লোকটি নেহাত বেকার ছিল, তার কোনো কাজ ছিল না, কেবল শখ ছিল নানা রকমের।
Today we will be discussing journalism and ethics. So let's start today's class.
আমরা যারা চাইল্ড স্পেশালিস্ট তারা যদি এইটাকে একটুখানি গুরুত্ব দিয়ে ভাবি তাহলে কিন্তু অনেক ক্যান্সার আমরা কিন্তু সারাতে পারি।
In one particularly cold evening, they were preparing to ward off the chill.
Actually our songs are based on a positive aspect of life, तो हम लोग पॉजिटिविटी को दिखाते हैं ज्यादा।
तुम हो जैसे बहती हवाएं, तुम हो जैसे बहती हवाएं, छू के यूं खो जाए मन में।
Though there's distance, we are here together. The hurdle's gonna break us, it's now or never. Hope is the key that's keeping us alive. Tune in and groove along to Reverse behind. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM. Tune in to NSHM YFM.
NSHM YFM. The world is listening. Are you?